I made that. When I told people that I was going to be making my own kitchen cabinets, I got a range of responses. Some people were like, hey, that's cool. Some people asked me if my husband was handy. Others wanted to know why I wouldn't just buy my cabinets. And a few people got really anxious about the idea that I was going to be building kitchen cabinets with no prior experience. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've already built 2 cabinet boxes, also known as carcasses. I will not be calling them carcasses. And it actually was not that bad. I think that people assume that kitchen cabinets are really difficult to build because they are really expensive. You'll spend tens of thousands of dollars on a custom kitchen cabinet build, and at least thousands of dollars if you're buying pre-made cabinets. This is a project that I've been wanting to try for a really long time, even before we got this house. Part of the reasoning is, yes, to save some money, but also I just wanted to see if I could do it myself. Because I'm a DIYer to my core, I like trying new things, I like challenging projects, and I thought it might be kind of fun. So I can say that so far it's been going pretty well. I have built 2 cabinet boxes that you can see here behind me and face frames. So the style of cabinet that I'm going to be building is a cabinet with a face frame with the drawers and the doors inset and flush with the face frames. I did find a lot of really helpful resources here on YouTube for building kitchen cabinets. I'll link some of my favorite videos in the description below this video. I've already demoed the upper cabinets and all the soffits in here and patched the ceiling. When I was planning the layout, I first just took measurements of the walls where I was gonna have the cabinets and then figured out where all of the appliances were gonna be and sort of worked my way back from there to get all the sizes of the cabinets that I wanted to put in this space. We've also been waiting to demolish this part of the cabinetry, this one big base cabinet area, so that once we demolish this, we have a cabinet ready to put over here where the sink is, and we can get our sink installed and not be without a sink for too long. So it's not all happening all at once, and we're also living here while we work on this house, so we have to kind of keep those things in mind too. So I did build these 2 cabinet boxes off camera just to kind of get my feet under me and figure out the sequence of how I was putting everything together. Now I am ready, I'm feeling good, I'm ready to continue making all of the cabinets. So we have a table saw, but it really hasn't been working consistently. So I'm not gonna be using the table saw to make these cabinets. When I went to the hardware store, they had these enormous foam sheets that you can buy, and I've seen people cut plywood on top of these things, but they were just too big to fit in my car. However, I did find this small pack of several foam sheets, and I just taped them together to make a little accordion fold, and I'm gonna lay these out on my table. That way they're easy to store, easy to manage, and I can just lay my plywood here and cut with my circular saw, and I don't have to worry about cutting my table and just cut a little bit into the foam. So the assembly for these cabinets is gonna go like this. I'll have 2 22.5-inch deep by 34.5-inch tall sheets of plywood that will make up the sides of each of the cabinet boxes. And I'll cut a toe kick out of each of those. I'm gonna have an integrated toe kick in my cabinet boxes. Then I'll have a sheet of plywood for the bottom of each of the cabinet bases, and that is going to be 22.5 inches deep, so the depth of the box by whatever the width of the cabinet box is going to be, and that's going to vary from cabinet to cabinet. Then I'll have 3 pieces of wood, basically scrap plywood that's left over from all the pieces that I cut. I'll use the long, narrow pieces of plywood as stretchers on the top and the back of the cabinet. Those are going to be used to nail the cabinets to the wall and to attach the countertop to once we get to that point. I've also labeled each of the pieces so that I know what goes with what. So this is going to be for a section that has a door and a drawer, and it's the bottom of that cabinet. And so I've labeled the different pieces of that cabinet that all go together. Since some of these, you know, are kind of similar sizes. Some of these are bottoms, some of these are sides. That way it'll just kind of keep me straight. Now that I've got all of those big pieces cut, I can start working on assembling these cabinets. Now to me, the most difficult part is cutting down those huge sheets of plywood into more manageable pieces, and the assembly process goes relatively quickly. It's actually kind of like putting together IKEA furniture, except you have to drill all of your own holes, and to help me with the hole drilling, I'm gonna be using a Craig jig. So I'm gonna be putting all of these cabinets together with pocket hole screws. And there are a number of ways that you can do this. I feel like this is just gonna be the easiest way for me to do it. And I wanna make sure that all of my pocket holes are actually on the outside of the cabinet boxes, because those are gonna be hidden once I put all of the cabinets together. And then when you open the doors and drawers, you will not see any fasteners on the inside of the cabinet. Using the pocket hole jig is actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that it goes really fast. You don't have to measure everything out. To prep all of the stretcher bars that I cut out of that scrap plywood left over from cutting the pieces for the boxes, I just drilled pocket holes into each end on all of them. I also drilled pocket holes into the front edge of the cabinet sides, so that's going to be the side that I cut the toe kick out of on the long edge. And for this project, the pocket holes don't have to be perfectly spaced, but I'm just trying to get them approximately 7 or 8 inches apart. And I'm also keeping track of which side I'm drilling the pocket holes for each of the cabinets because I want them to be on the exterior of all of the cabinets. So they're going to be on opposite sides of these side pieces. And I drilled pocket holes into 3 sides of the piece that's going to be the bottom of the cabinet so that I can screw this into the 2 sides of the cabinet and the face frame on the front. To assemble the cabinets, I'm going to start with one of these side pieces, and I want to flip this over so that those pocket holes are facing down so that the inside of the cabinet is essentially facing up. And I'm going to just draw a line that is 3.5 inches along the bottom edge of that side panel. That's going to be where I'm going to align the bottom floor of the cabinet. To help me hold the pieces in place, I'm going to use these corner clamps. This will hold them nice and tight together while I screw everything in and also help keep this assembly square. Now this should be the same level as the top of my toe kick, but I did cut that with a jigsaw. It's a little bit uneven, so drawing that line there just helps me make sure that I keep everything nice and level. Next, I'll install 2 of those stretcher bars along the top, and I should have clamped this, but I was being stubborn. So I'm gonna align 2 of the stretcher bars along the top of the cabinet, and I'll put 1 along the back of the cabinet right under that top one in the back corner. Then I'll just repeat the process to attach all of that to the other side. One mistake I did make on this, I don't know if you noticed it at all, I accidentally installed that stretcher bar that's on the back. I put it on the front. I did fix this later, but just in case you noticed, I did notice it and I fixed it. Okay, it has been a few days and I am ready now to put some face frames on these cabinets. It is a gorgeous day today, so I'm gonna work outside. To make the face frames, I'm going to be using 1x2 lumber, and I'm using poplar. I think it's considered a softwood, but it's actually really easy to work with. There was a gentleman at the store that helped me pick out some of the wood, and he was talking about how many cabinets he's built, and he uses this all the time for paint grade cabinetry. I'm going to be using pocket holes to assemble the face frames, and then I will glue and screw those to the boxes. Now the face frames are going to consist of rails and stiles. The rails are vertical, is that right? No, the stiles are vertical. So the stiles will be the vertical pieces, and I'm going to cut those at the same height as the front of the cabinet, and then the rails will go in between those on the horizontals. Now I had a bunch of materials delivered for the rest of the cabinets a few days ago, but I wanted to pick out the wood for the face frames in person because I wanted to make sure that I could get some really straight pieces. And to kind of check the straightness of the board, you can just kind of hold it up and look down the length of the board, and you can really see pretty easily whether or not it's got some curvature to it. And I just picked pieces that would fit in my car, so I got mostly the 6-foot long pieces that they had at the store and was able to find enough for my face frames. Now a 1x2 is actually not 1 inch by 2 inches. It's actually 3/4 inch by 1.5 inch. So this is going to be what makes up the face frames for all of my cabinets. So my stiles are actually going to be 31¼ inches tall, which is 1/4 inch taller than the front of my cabinet. But I just wanted that little bit of extra to kind of cover up any discrepancies so that it would look consistent across the front of the cabinet. And because I'm going to have all of these cuts at the same length, I'm going to set up a stop on my table to make it easier so that I can put these in and continue cutting without having to measure each one individually, which would also potentially lead to discrepancies between my measurements. So I'm going to see if I can set that up on this table. I've got my miter saw clamped to the table so that it doesn't budge, and then I'm going to set this up. I have it turned off right now while I set everything up. So I want to put my stop over on this end here. So, and that way also I'm cutting the longest piece on the left-hand side, which is where I'm going to be holding, because if I have kind of a shorter piece and I need to cut off just a little bit, I don't want my hand too close to the blade in here. So I want to make sure that my longest end that I'm cutting is going to be on this left side since I'm right-handed anyway. And this is the side that I'm going to keep. So I want to make sure that I align my blade with the right side of this line because I don't want to cut off anything past this line. So I'll just kind of adjust that. There, that looks pretty good right there. And I'm going to grab some blocking to make my stop at the other end. So I'll release this. I don't need that anymore. And the idea is that I can just bring this in, set it up against my stop there. That looks pretty good. Put a couple more clamps on here just to make sure it stays. Perfect. So now I've got the vertical pieces cut for these cabinets, and I need to start cutting the horizontals. Now the horizontals are going to vary a little bit more than the verticals because my cabinets are different sizes. So I just need to measure the front of each cabinet. I'm going to take measure. So typically the stiles are justified to the exterior edge of the cabinet. And for the style of cabinet that I am planning to do, my face frames will be visible and the cabinet and drawer fronts are going to be inset and flush with the face frame. So you're going to see the full width of the face frame. So if I have two cabinets that are next to each other and I do the justification to the exterior of the cabinets, when I put those cabinets together, that face frame total width is going to be 3 inches. I want it to be consistent across all of the cabinets so that they all look like they are 1.5 inches. I do have two cabinets that are going to be right next to each other and are going to share a face frame. So I'm going to be justifying the edge of the face frame to the interior edge of the cabinet on those sides. And it's going to be different on either side of the cabinet. And maybe that'll make more sense later when I finish these cabinets. I just need to keep in mind which cabinet that is going to be sharing a face frame, basically. But probably the most difficult part about building these cabinets is just thinking through those challenges and thinking through how you want to address your storage needs with the design of your cabinetry. So I'm going to start cutting the rails. Wherever I can, I'll use that stop method that I created for the stiles. But I have a feeling the rails are going to be a little bit more varied in their length, so I probably will have to just measure each one mostly one by one. So. So my blade was kind of doing something funny and it would just keep spinning after I turned it off, and I was like, that seems kind of weird. And then when I went to cut through this piece of wood, it stopped and picked up the wood. So I have a feeling my blade might be kind of loose. I did unplug it. Oh my gosh, yeah, this is really tight. This is really loose. So you turn left to tighten and right to loosen. Yeah, I think that was just loose. And it's been like that for several cuts because it was doing this the other day and I was like, why is it making that? Why is it still spinning? Check your blade, make sure it's tight. It stopped a lot faster that time. That did the trick. On a Tuesday night, 33 and a half. Okay, I'm gonna start assembling the face frames. I haven't cut all of the rails yet, but I wanna just get the most basic pieces of the face frames put together. And then because I have some custom cabinet things going on, I'll come back and measure and then cut the additional rails and stiles that need to go inside for some of these cabinets. I'm gonna be using pocket holes to put all of this together. So the rails are gonna attach to the face frame this way. They're gonna butt up against them. So I just need to put the pocket holes in the rails for now. I also made sure to go through and label, put like a little letter on each of the pieces for each cabinet. That way I can kind of keep myself straight and don't accidentally put the wrong things together. Now I can start putting the face frames together. So I've got all of my stiles here and these will make up the sides of the frames. And then again, these are the rails, they'll be the horizontals. And I'll just start putting these together. So the last time I put these together, I actually had a friend that was helping me hold everything. Today I'm gonna have to do everything with clamps. Where are my clamps? I have some corner clamps. I think these are gonna make my life a little bit easier. So to fit the rail in that's gonna go beneath the drawer, I'm gonna use a little block jig that I made, and I've just got this tip off of one of the YouTube channels that I've been watching to get information about building cabinets. I may have actually got it out of this book too. So I did get this book, Building Kitchen Cabinets Made Simple. The tips in this book are actually really great. My only beef with this book is that the pictures are not great. Like I wish it had more diagrams. It just kind of shows the guy doing the things, but it would really help to have more diagrams. But the video that goes along with this book, it actually came with a DVD that shows you how old this book is. But the DVD, someone uploaded it to YouTube, and if I can find it, I'll link it in the description below. That actually helped a lot too. But one of the things he suggests is basically cutting yourself a block that is the distance that you need to install your next rail. I've created one for my top drawer rails, and it's 5.5 inches, and that way you're not having to remeasure over and over again. Because one of the things that I've learned through this process is that every time you have to measure, you're kind of setting yourself up for, getting a slight discrepancy. So with something like this, you can just kind of place it where you need it, put in your stile there and just kind of butt it up against there, do one side, and then just move it over to the other side to make sure that both sides are the same. 5.5 inches on both sides. I just made sure to write on here 5.5 on both sides so that I don't accidentally throw it away. So when I built the cabinet boxes, I put these pocket holes along the front edge of the sides and the bottom, and that's how we're gonna attach the frame to the box. So whenever I'm doing this, I'm making sure that I align the visible edges first. I kind of give priority to those spots. Oh, I gotta glue this. I forgot to glue it. So I'm gonna take these off, put some glue on here, then put them back on, then I'll screw it on. Dang it. I'm being pretty generous with the glue. It's okay if it oozes out. Everything I've read and seen and heard is that more glue is better. And the glue is actually stronger than the fasteners in a lot of cases, so it's okay if it gets oozy. Once again, I just want to make sure I justify it to this right side, because that's going to be the side that, if it shows, that will be the side that shows. Put the top screws in first, just to keep it stable, and then I'll put the other screws in so I can align all the edges with the frame. So I did buy some dowels that are specifically for filling pocket holes. So I'll put these in and sand them down for the sides that are going to be a little bit visible so that you can't see the pocket holes there. Ooh, do I have more Craig screws? I thought I did. Did I go do 2 boxes already? Ah. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, you scared me. You scared me. Oh my gosh, I'm filming. Watch out for the thing. Whatever. I'm watching you, bud. Just don't let them go out to that spot. That's Ron to you, bud.